So with the Herald of the Flame launching earlier this week and a hype cinematic trailer to hype us up, was it everything we'd hoped for? We were looking for a return to form with the adventures, but is this it? Yes, but also no. It wouldn't be a AShinyRay video without a straightforward answer, now would it? I'll break down the lore, the things you missed, and of course, where we might be going next. And it's exciting, trust me. So the adventure starts with Lorina bellowing at us that she has a message from Belle. Not that she wasn't doing that for the past 2 weeks or anything. Belle is over at the Liar's Lair and has been doing some digging about Stitcher Jim. She lets us know that before we act, we must be sure that Jim is the Herald of the Flame, therefore we have to venture to his last known location, the Devil's Thirst. We sail all the way south, following the footsteps of our past selves from Heart of Fire to find Pendragon on the shores. He lets us know that he still has the Ferryman's Lantern, and we can use it to see what Jim did shortly after he escaped the Heart of Fire. We learn Jim's arm was burnt by the Chest of Rage, and he laments the betrayal at the hands of Wanda and Captain Flameheart, but needs to get away from them. He opts to use a rowboat to travel south to the Ashen Reaches to recover a key to a Gold Hoarder vault. This is a neat nod to when Stitcher Jim's still allied with the Gold Hoarders. Eager to follow in his footsteps, we head south and use a newly acquired map to dig up the key to the vault. Opening the door reveals Jim hid himself in the vault, losing his mind following the Ashen curse seeping into his being. In this moment of madness, he swears to get revenge on Captain Flameheart. Lighting the braziers in the room starts the puzzle, simply spelling out the runes Death to Flameheart on the pillars is the solution. This being Jim scrawling swearing to destroy Captain Flameheart once and for all. So retreading our footsteps again, we journey north to Flintlock Peninsula, where all of this Flameheart business started. Pendragon beats us there, but more importantly, the lantern reveals Jim was stopped by the Servant of the Flame. The servant tells Jim he was not betrayed but given a gift, and invites him into the tomb of his father. We once again follow their directions and see that the servant has told Jim he is not part of a plan, but a prophecy. A prophecy to resurrect Captain Flameheart. Entering the tomb reveals one final scene. Jim is receiving communion from the chalice. The one featured in the trailer, but this is not the same one that cursed him or his father, but clearly an ancient artifact based on its design. Jim is to drink from the chalice to complete his transformation, after he had repaired the skull of Captain Flameheart and returned his finger. Pendragon is now sure Jim is the Herald of the Flame and urges us to return to Belle. Sailing back to Liar's Backbone, we inform Belle of our findings, where she's shocked to hear that the Reapers are one step ahead of them again. Belle tells us to head to Molten Sands to try and stop the ritual, and Pendragon will assist us. We leave the lair to see the tornado to the east, a great swirling vortex associated with the Ashen Lords, but infused with green streaks. Sailing east, we reach Molten Sands. And there he is, after 2.5 years, Stitcher Jim, now the Herald of the Flame. He plans to complete a ritual to resurrect Captain Flameheart, and Pendragon cannot reach his remains in the vault due to a fiery aura protecting it. If Jim isn't stopped, then Flameheart will return to his body and the Sea of Thieves will be in grave danger. After a well-fought battle, well, not really, Jim is defeated, allowing Pendragon to access Flameheart's body. We enter the vault to see Pendragon draw his sword and destroy the skull using Belle's new enchantment. We did it. We saved the Sea of Thieves and Flameheart is stopped. Pendragon yet again informs us we need to return to Belle, and we do. Lastly, Belle tells us that we've saved the Sea of Thieves again, and then Pendragon appears to reveal that Flameheart's remains were missing and Stitcher Jim is also gone. Seems we didn't, surprise surprise. We're told the time of resurrection is still nearing, and this intersects with the Festival of the Damned, a time in the Sea of Thieves where the worlds of the living and dead are closer. And that's a wrap. Before I go over my thoughts, let me know what you think down below of this adventure. Cool, let's crack on then. As for mine, I'm really not sure what to make of it. It's really nice to see Jim back, but I can't help but feel this adventure was a missed opportunity. As of 2 weeks or so from this point, no one can play the conclusion of Heart of Fire, but I suppose that's a criticism of the adventures as a whole. I loved seeing Jim and getting a glimpse into the past, and of course, the presentation is always spot on. Pendragon being along for the ride makes perfect sense, as it's his fault we're in this situation. It definitely wasn't ours or anything. Visiting the Devil's Roar is a treat and is a much nicer area to explore without the volcanic activity. I love how Rare made a lore excuse for this as well. Jim has essentially sucked up all the power from the Roar in a bid to revive Captain Flameheart. Get your Devil's Roar voyages in while this lasts, by the way. Retracing our steps from Heart of Fire and Seabound Soul was a neat touch too, and it made it feel like those only happened a few weeks ago, not 2.5 years ago. I think the Herald of the Flame's design was superb too, and I really want to see his jacket usable for us. The attention to detail is there too, with various nods to wider lore. Jim begins to scrawl skeleton runes on the wall in the vault, a language he would be unfamiliar with up until this point, but this is a cipher adopted by Flameheart from the ancients. He also would have the knowledge of the vaults from when he worked for the Gold Hoarders that the servant would likely not know about. The scene from the trailer was also shown in the form of a flashback, albeit that the servant wasn't in this one. The last detail was in Jim's boss fight, where in between stages, he begs for Flameheart to save him, and so Flameheart activates the volcano and even sends phantoms to help him. This was a fantastic touch in terms of world building. Belle even sends the ancient warriors, as they're now loyal to her as per the last adventure. Francis McGee's performance is top notch yet again, and it brings Jim to life. Now, onto the stuff that needs to be addressed. The sailing for this adventure was mostly fine, but going from island to island looking at memories is the 4th time we've used this as a narrative device. I know it's sort of the only way we can have a flashback. I personally don't mind it, but each arc has contained this now, and yeah, we need a new way of doing this. I understand we can't use Sea of the Damned, but that's one of the best ways to do it without looking at short animations. Having to go back to Belle only to sail east again is a bit annoying, but it's a necessity because of the checkpoint system. The Herald of the Flame boss fight was so underwhelming the first time round. Jim went down ridiculously quickly, and it's clear this isn't balanced for crews bigger than one person. Jim is also pretty much an Ashen Lord from 2 years ago. He has no new attacks, and the new flavour to change it up is just the volcano. This never hit our ship either. I suppose he does summon phantoms as well, but it's not like we've not been fighting them for the last year. I felt he was a little more aggressive when solo, but the payoff was not as sweet as the build up for this adventure. Jim deserved better, and fans deserve better for a 2.5-year wait. One of the deeds too was bugged, so we didn't get our last Reaper parrot, so we'll have to replay it again for the 3rd time to get the title as of writing this video. Also, I still haven't received Stitcher Jim's jacket. But those are really minor gripes. The main issue I have with this is actually the storytelling, and I've seen this complaint before this started. We defeat the Herald and stop Flameheart's resurrection, just like we always do when the villains get close. But shock, we didn't actually win, and he'll be back. I get the vibe this is being dragged out for the sake of it, and there's no emotional payoff with this. We've seen this several times in Sea of Thieves now, to the point it's being a trope. Seabound Soul, we free Flameheart by mistake. In Heart of Fire, we save Pendragon's crew, but Jim escapes and was the real plan anyway. Shrouded Islands, we beat the Soul Flame Captain, but that's what Flameheart wanted. Shrouded Deep, we get the Veil, but Flameheart knew the Veil Stones weren't in there. And the same thing just happened with Herald of the Flame. Maybe I'm complaining for complaining's sake. As someone who loves the world, the story, and the lore of this game more than anyone else, I promise you this, we just haven't had a payoff for this build up over the last 2.5 years, and longer if you really want to consider Tales from the Sea of Thieves or even Dark Relics. That's not to say I'm not excited about the story anymore, just we'll be waiting a while longer for this payoff to come out, if it ever happens at all. Anyways, what's happening next? Oh boy, is it exciting. Well, our Halloween themed event is beginning in 3 weeks, and it's actually the adventure, Return of the Damned, and of course, Belle hints to us that it ties in with the Festival of the Damned. With Flameheart trapped in the Sea of the Damned, it's obvious that they plan to bring him back, but what part will we play? This first one I mentioned before, but we see the 6 flames around the bewitching doll in the trailer. These clearly represent the flames of fate. However, the second piece of information is a blink and you miss it moment, but it's parchment in Jim's lair. Look carefully at this. What do you see? This looks like stars, right? Yep, but it also looks like a map, where all the points intersect in the centre. And if you're really keen-eyed, you would have already worked out that it's a map for all 6 forts that were summoned in Season 6. And they all intersect in the middle of the map. Ladies and gentlemen, the servant is going to open a door in the middle of the map for Captain Flameheart to walk right on through. And finally, we'll get to see the return of the king.